Hello, and welcome to Weed and Grub.
What up, Mary Jane?
How's it going, Mike?
It's going so good. Welcome to Weed and Grub, everybody. This is a podcast about comedy,
Cannabis,
culture,
cooking,
calling shit out,
and Reggie Watts.
Yeah.
Reggie wrote a book called Great Falls, Montana, Fast Times, Post-Punk Weirdos, and a Tale of Coming Home Again. And he's here to talk to us about it.
Wait, put it back there. That was like late night host style.
Yep.
That was so good.
Of course, we all know Reggie was the band leader for James Corden on The Late Late Show, so appropriate.
Yeah. Are you gunning for a little late night hosting yourself?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I would never.
No?
No. Maybe Saturday morning cartoon hosting.
Oh, that would be nice.
You know, like I could put on my beaver up and be like, hello, kids. Like maybe that level. But no, I couldn't do what they do. You're the late night guy.
Well, let's get into it and we can discuss this at another time. I'm sorry I brought it up because we have a great guest we should get to.
Everybody, please enjoy our conversation with the wonderful, the weird, the magical Reggie Watts. How did that even happen that there are two Zooms?
They were before Zoom. I know. Well, because I guess they're different things, right? It's like one's a hardware.
But doesn't one always dominate? Like, isn't there one that works? It like that takes.
Well, Zoom, the what do you call it? The web
telecommunications,
telepresence, whatever thing is like. That's the meeting app. That's definitely much more well known than Zoom, the recording devices.
But I'm so surprised that they're able to coexist.
Well, I mean, it shows you that there could be a resolution to Palestine and Israel.
Exactly.
I mean, that's how we wanted to start.
That's a two-tech solution.
Exactly.
Solution.
Yeah, one tech solution.
Reggie Watts, welcome to Weed and Grub.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you about a million things, but I don't know. We should start with your book.
Yeah, let's not wait till the end to plug.
Yeah.
Let's get plugs out top. It's such a good book.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I listened to it and Mary Jane read it so we could have the full experience.
And we were chatting back and forth as that was going on. So we were like, Mike was like, I've just gotten to this place where this is happening. What's happening for you at that point as you're reading it?
Yeah.
And I'm hearing it.
Yeah.
And it was really neat to compare notes.
That's so cool.
It's a beautiful, beautiful book.
Thank you.
It was really moving, and I don't know, it touched a lot of different pieces of my life, and I felt like I recognized so much of my own DNA in it, but also then so much that I never knew about you. And I met you a long time ago, and I felt like there was a ton that I knew about you, and I just got to look into this huge, like a look at how you became you.
Yeah. It's just like very abstract to have it out there finally, because it's so long. You work on it, and then after you're done, then there's months and months and months go by, and then finally just that date happens, and then like, oh yeah, now it's out and people can get it.
How does it feel?
It feels good. I mean, I think people are enjoying it. I don't have any metrics about it at all right now, but in general, it seems to be good. The critical reviews seem to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's cool to have like some firsts, I guess. I don't know if it seems like maybe it's the first book to have QR codes. I wouldn't have thought that it would be, but apparently someone will be able to correct that. But but a lot of people, bookstores will be like that we haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it would be funny to have QR codes in a book.
So in the audio version, there are no QR codes. So what are the QR codes in the written copy for?
All the music that you hear.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, all the music that's in there is all, and the commercial and the intermission commercial.
And your acceptance call from Cornish.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. Oh my God,
fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, it was fun putting that together.
Have you been hearing from friends who are in the book?
Yeah. Some people. It's funny. My ex Paula McNeese from Seattle came to my show in Seattle, and I hadn't for this last book tour, and I haven't seen her in like 30 some years.
Whoa.
And it was so crazy to like look. She was kind of not familiar for a microsecond, and then suddenly it hit, and I felt like I was like meeting like a superstar or something. Like I felt like I was meeting like someone that I was a fan of for a long time. I never thought I would get to meet or something. It was a very interesting feeling that I hadn't felt before, but it was just so good to see her. It was great. So she came out of the woodwork, and so I've reconnected with a few people.
Nice.
It's been awesome.
And she gave the ring back?
No, that was a different girlfriend. Joanne was the one that took the ring. Although she'll probably read the book and go, "It's not right. I still don't have it. I don't know if I have it. Do I?"
She's wearing it on one
she's
hand.
like, "I don't have it. I melted it down, and I made a necklace." No, I don't know. I mean, I think one of my friends still keeps in touch with the Hyde sisters, but I don't know if I'll ever hear from them.
Oh man, if you do, I want to know about it.
Yeah, please. I will tell you. You'll be the first. You'll be the first to let
First
me know.
call?
Oh yeah, for sure.
A big part of the book is about your competitive drama DNA, like how that. And I, one, didn't know that about you. Two, it makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a, like, can you explain a little bit about how you entered into that scene, because you were sort of like trying different pieces or different personas on for a while in high school, and you tried a bunch of different things, and that just felt like the best fit for you?
Well, I mean, it was good practice to try on all the dumb things that I would do in my bedroom by myself, but I could do it outwardly, in front of people. And that was definitely an opportunity for me to just get it out, I guess. It was very fortuitous that existed, because I'd done a little bit of speech, some speech debate stuff in junior high, just a taste of it. And then I actually did speech and debate in high school for a little bit, and they had extemporaneous monologue, I think was a category that you could do. And I tried some, I forgot what the other category is, but where you argue like lawyers. You're like kind of going back and forth. You're doing arguments. Yeah, debate. I guess it's called debate. But I didn't quite like it because it was this competition, and I didn't like that. I like the competition where like I'll do something, then a contained thing, and then I go away, and then someone else does a contained thing, and then everyone kind of thinks about what did they like better. That I didn't mind, but just in the moment, like my client here says that he is a proponent of the redistricting of our, what, it's like I would argue, like that kind of thing, which I think is funny, but I think it'd be more funnier if you're just doing it as a goof rather than to convince people.
Can we do a British accent off real quick in competitive drama, in the spirit of competitive drama?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. This is the best I can do. So
it's not bad.
This is a bit cockney as well as a little bit of a partier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Not bad?
I think a lot of my British friends would be like, that is spot on.
Wow.
Damn,
it's like
thanks.
it's like a very English person doing an American accent. When they do like John Wayne.
Yeah, it's like
I just heard some. Yeah.
There's. I mean, everybody. It's like terrible at everybody else's.
I don't know.
accent.
Both of you are incredible at British. That's why I wanted to tee it up, because I've tried to talk, and then Mary Jane has this perfect one, and you have such a good one as well.
It depends. I used to be better at it because my dad grew up in York.
Oh, okay.
And so they had that Northern Yorkshire.
That's a
Shut
great.
up and eat your bloody banana.
Yeah, it's
We're
beautiful.
going on a walk on a Sunday with the seagulls.
That's beautiful.
That beautiful lilty Northern sound.
That's the one I can't do. I can't really do Northern very well.
But I can't do the RP, the like Queen's English that you do so perfectly.
Well.
Is it from Monty Python? Is that where it really started? Yeah.
My Python PBS, like all the this period pieces and all the BBC shows that were on, like that was really where that came from.
All the sort of wonderful.
Yeah.
This is a cheese shop.
Yes. I don't know what you're saying, but I'm telling you now, if I don't go tonight, I'm going to go tomorrow, and if I'm here tomorrow, you're going to be asking for it, whatever.
Just because some Morrison Bint lobbed a scimitar at you don't make you king.
Like, no, he's right. No, I've spoken with him. He's a hard one, that one.
So good.
Like it's like all those characters are just swimming around because that's what I heard as a kid, and I loved it. I loved something really beautiful about it. And sometimes when I travel and I'm doing accents, I try to tell my friends, especially in UK, I'm like, I'm not making fun of you. Like, don't think that I predicate. I'm like, believe me, I'm not making fun of you. Like, I love the accents. Like, and if it's that terrible, then please let me know. But most of the time, they just let it roll. And because there's people like you can do, like if you're talking like this, and I grew up in London, not too far out from my mum's place. It's like no, it's about like maybe 3 miles away from Hackney Wick, around that area. And I grew up there. Oh, yeah. But like I went to school a bit in like Berlin, so there's like it's a washed out London accent, and so you can kind of get away with it in London because my accent it'll kind of meld into other accents. It doesn't stay necessarily solid. And so I always attribute that. It's like, oh no, he just lives in London. So he's exposed to a lot of accents. So he's like more metropolitan London English accent.
Do you find it like overcomes you when you're in other places like Australia or Ireland or South Africa or...
That I can't do those accents,
like the diphthongs. Not crazy. Like no.
Yeah, those are once in a while I can, like it's like tuning a radio dial. I'll get it for a second and be like, oh, there's Australian, and then just it goes away again. I'm like, damn it, I shouldn't have focused on it too much. But yes, Australian's weird because I don't know. It's kind of familiar, but it has a cadence that's a lot different than you find.
Sort of clipped.
It's a little clipped. Yeah, clapped. Yeah, it's that. And then also New Zealand is really tough because it's all about the E's. The E sounds are eh. And so it's E instead of eh. So Reggie is Reggie.
Reggie.
Yeah.
Reggie.
This is my mate, Reggie. And so that's kind of like the main one and then there's cadence difference. But Australian, like again, I can for a second I'll get in there and I'll be like, oh, I got it, and then it just falls apart.
I wanted to know too about your French because you grew up speaking French with your mom.
Yes.
Do you have the same experience in French? Do you switch from different accents when you're speaking French?
That's a good question.
When you're in Montreal, do you like go to bang, bang, bang?
Well, yeah, when I'm in Montréal, je parle comme ça. Les gens ici savent que je parle un petit peu français. Ouais, c'est comme ça, mais Mac. I mean, like if I do it that way, it's like it's kind of like a rougher. Like when I first heard it, and this is not to diss any of my Montreal friends, but when I first heard Québécoise, I thought it was someone who knew how to speak French really well, but just couldn't quite get the accent. They're like they did their best, but they can speak like the grammar is right on, like they know French, but they didn't quite get there. And then little did you know that people don't know that is actually like an older form of French. Like so it's actually more French than French in a way.
It's I was just in Newfoundland because I grew up in St. John's, Newfoundland, and I was listening to Canadian radio, and it was so soothing to hear that Québécois French because c'est si clair. Like it's so, I can understand it so well, but it's not as mellifluous as the French that I think you speak,
right?
Which is much more fluid and beautiful.
It's more fluid and like, ah oui, bonjour, ça va faire, qu'est-ce qu'il y a avec toi aujourd'hui? Je peux parler quelque chose avec toi? Eh ben ici, on va parler un petit peu. Eh ben, on va parler ici, non? Mais c'est comme, it's like ouais, c'est comme ça, c'est vachement différent là. Which I don't know, I like both of them. I think they're both great.
Yeah.
Whatever. I love language in general. That's why was growing up like listening and absorbing as many accents as possible. I mean, Montanan's a really weird one because there isn't really an accent that I can find. There's nothing about, I don't know. It's, even if you'd never been to Montana, you just fly in and listen to people talk. They could be from Wyoming. They could be from Idaho. They could be from North Dakota. They could be from South Dakota. There's no real, I mean, well, South Dakota definitely has that South Dakota kind of thing going on, and maybe North Dakota too. But like generally that area is devoid of an accent. There's colloquialisms and there are different ways of saying certain words like creek and crick and creek, that type of thing. Pop and soda, but I don't know. I don't really hear it. I can't. Someone's like, do a Montana accent. I'm like, here's a Montana accent. Here it is.
This is what it sounds
Here
like.
it is. I mean, I pretend like I'm using a Montana accent when I perform comedy in Montana, but it's usually I kind of talk like this. Well, it sounds like it could be from like, maybe Arkansas or something like that. And I'll just talk about camping supplies and what you need when you go on your trip and what to pack in your pack and what things to have just in case and what not to bring and how to stay safe out there and
maybe a flint, maybe a rope.
Is it kind of
You need
a cowboy
flint.
sound?
Oh yeah, you need a little bit of a flint. You need just a tiny bit of a flint and waterproofing. Some waterproof matches. Whatever it is. But like, there's definitely this kind of salt of the earth accent that I do that no Montanan uses.
Yeah,
but they still get it.
I hearing you run through all of these accents in your ear and having seen you perform live quite a bit, I'm starting to understand how you fell in love with jazz as a child and different rhythms and different ways to play an instrument, and then find, like, would you say that kind of honed your, like, it sounds like you started with your ear and then you just like dove into either your body or the instrument and it all coalesced. Would that be fair to assume?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because I did get to hear a lot when I was younger, and then kind of met up with it as I learned music. How to, like, oh, now I can play that thing that I heard. I kind of know why it sounds like that, as opposed to just hearing it and mimicking it.
But because I don't know French and I can't wait to listen back to this and see what both of you were saying. It's
not much.
No? Oh, okay. I don't know. I was like, they could be telling secrets. What about when you do like gibberish, and do you start at gibberish to find the rhythms and then you can actually go from there? Yeah,
I mean, those are a little bit more. That's definitely like freestyle, because there's something about, I don't know. There's something about, like, it's the cadence of language and like the way that different languages use ch's and some, like if you're doing, I mean, like, it's weird. I always think that Israelis could learn how to speak Dutch very easily.
Yo, interesting.
Because Dutch have the ch sound, and there's the ch, hoe gaat het, hoe gaat het is. Like, there's that, but then like and when I hear Israelis speak, there's like this ch, and I'm like, oh man, you guys got that, the Dutch. Yeah. Like, you got it. But so, I mean, mixing that, so there's a lot of languages, and obviously like other Arabic languages have that as well. And then you have like Chinese with all the weird like like, there's this kind of lilting, weird, bendy vowel stuff that's going on, and Germanic languages, and I don't know. It's like when I hear all those languages, I love speaking like a proto language, like a language that speaks. It's like like an original language, or an all language, and so I try to incorporate all the languages in the ways, moving through different continents. Usually, when I do it, so I go into Africa, and then I go back into Europe, go through Europe, and then I go through parts of Asia, and then I go through the Middle East, and then I go through the United States, and so I love doing that. It's like such a cool, powerful feeling.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And your
to be
book
so worldly
encapsulates parts of those. What, like when you go to Cleveland and you're hanging out with your dad's side of the family, or when you're like, all of a sudden you're like leaning into the Valley Girl. It's like your book gives us a little tour of how you were like visiting the different regionalities, and is that a word?
Yeah,
regions.
I like it.
Parts of America.
America. Yep. Yes.
Yes. Were you going to say something?
I mean, I can talk forever.
Yeah.
So this edible just kicked in. I feel really nice. I had half to see how it would feel. I'm gonna have the other
crazy
half
that
now.
You're honest about that to your audience.
Oh yeah, it's a must.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honest about taking half?
That would be so funny if you guys just hid that at all costs. That you guys do any drugs at all. It's just like
well, when we in Grub, we usually start with our hand on the Bible.
Yeah, totally.
Really rock it from there.
We had a friend on the podcast, our friend Reggie Harris, who is at Oakland Hyphae, an amazing organization with doing mushroom cultivation and testing in Oakland. And we microdosed on the podcast with him. And like, we caught some flack for that. And it was really funny. It was like, Why
From
is anyone
who?
mad about that? Well, yeah, exactly.
You mean from the podcast people?
Not from the podcast
arbiters?
people, but
Oh, from fans?
not even from fans, just from some
Business folk.
business folks who were like, "That's a bad idea," and we were like, "What?"
Oh, that run this thing or what that you're part of?
Some, associates, maybe we would call them.
Oh,
Some
okay.
associated people.
And why do they think that it was bad?
I don't know.
Because they wear a wire.
Oh my god.
It's so strange.
That is a very strange thing.
Have you caught flack for talking openly about your drug use ever?
I never have.
Wow.
I don't think I don't think people could really say much to me,
Right.
in the sense that I've always been pretty open about it. So there's a track record. It's not like I'm trying to do something subversive. Plus, all the drugs that I'm promoting, generally, I follow it with a mindfulness element to it. So there's no way to argue against rational drug use. I don't think. I mean, they can try, but I think they just end up giving up.
What does rational mean for you? Because for me, that's changed quite a bit the more I've explored, especially mushrooms and heavy and light doses. Like rational has morphed for me as I've like gone on that journey, especially this year. Has it changed for you as you've gotten into like ketamine and mushrooms and I don't know, maybe a chamber or two?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's the more that things open up and the more people are available to the idea of psychotropics and psychedelics doing something beneficial, and also, or just wanting to explore yourself, those types of things. I think that I think that increases a rational mindset. I would think, as long as there's, I don't know. To me, the thing is, like, I always say, don't use drugs or don't do drugs unless you're really good at them. And what I mean by that is you should never. I don't think that's why I'm not a big alcohol person. I don't ever promote alcohol, and I will always shoot it down because I think it's a piece of shit drug. It's a terrible drug, but some people have no problems with it. They can have a glass of wine, for dinner. They can have like a really good beer. And I've got plenty of friends that are brewers and stuff like that. And I just have that stance for me because it's too easy of a drug to me. And I think that there's more exciting stuff. And so, psychotropics are great because it's really kind of hard to party on them necessarily. You can have some really good experiences on them, but it is a little bit of a commitment depending on the dose. I'm not really an advocate of microdosing, so I just think like medium to heavy doses are the way to go. But that's that's me. Just because I'm like I tried microdosing and it just made me feel like a little queasy and like not really not interesting to me at all. But in general, like, most of the things that I do, I always just talk about it as a journey and what are you discovering on it? Like, what is the intent going in and what's the setting and who are you with? And, make sure that, where your source comes from and, know the source and those types of things. But it should be an adventure. It's either something that is helpful in a clinical setting that you work with a therapist with, and you have like a multimodal approach to solving some issues and things like that, and traumas and forms of depression and those types of things, or it can be a tool of exploration that can be shared in a community of people who like-minded individuals that are interested in that as well. And so I think as long as there's mindfulness there, it kind of self-regulates in many ways.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience using ketamine? Because I had my first ever therapeutic ketamine experiences this year, and I had done ketamine in a sort of a party setting and had a very crazy time, and then found it so incredibly useful. And it plugged into and unlocked a piece of my brain that I've been trying to access with all other kinds of therapy, even all other forms of, plant medicine, like big herb, fat doses of mushrooms or all that sort of stuff. And the experience, my very first therapeutic ketamine experience, accessed some pieces that I wasn't even expecting to access. And it was so incredibly helpful. Was that your experience with ketamine as well? Like it reached some pieces of you that you were, because I know you talk about Robo in the book, and I feel like they're somehow related.
They are related.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both dissociatives. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of familiar because of that. I had experienced dissociatives, and when I was younger. So that was familiar, and it's definitely, I don't know. It's like ketamine's like a cleaner version of dextromethorphan. Dextromethorphan is a little dirtier in a way. Like it's just has like a kind of a shadowy element to it, whereas ketamine is cleaner. I mean, when I first got I got a bag of ketamine a long time ago, and it just sat on it for like half a year because I was afraid to take it. I didn't know how to take it. I didn't know how much. I was like, body weight. I got a scale and like, measured it out and like, okay, my body weight's this and there's this amount, whatever. And and then eventually I just kind of, got past that and was like, oh, this is how much works for me. Okay, great. I'll do this. And then I got a prescription, and so then I was getting lozenges and nasal sprays, and so it's been an interesting journey. But I think, like, I mean, to answer your question, like, yeah, it just hit me in a way that I just really like the space. I had a session last night with a friend I hadn't seen in a really long time, and I wasn't planning on doing it, but she kind of brought it up, and I was like, sure, let's do it. So we took do you know Phil Wolfson?
No.
He was one of the co-author or the author of something called the Ketamine Papers. It came out in I think the 80s or something like that. And it's a paper just on the experience of ketamine, the effects of it and so forth. And it's pretty well regarded. And he has influenced some people into a certain formulation of ketamine lozenges. And so for the first time I tried to hit the lozenges because I got a prescription for it.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how many
100 milligrams per lozenge.
Great.
And I have to say that it was definitely it was an R variant for sure, because it was just body high.
Interesting.
So it was like body ketamine high, which is very interesting. I was like, wow, this isn't the psychoactive crazy farm that I usually am used to. And it was great. And so then I was like, okay, well, let's add a couple bumps of just regular powdered K. And we tried that on top of it, and then it kicked in, and then we had this simultaneous, more of a body high, but also a psychoactive. And my friend was like, I don't think I've ever been this high. And it wasn't a K-hole, but it was close. It was like, it wasn't that far away. Mm-hmm. And it was just an amazing feeling, because she's like, I had never been this high. And then I thought that she's kind of a nervous person sometimes, so she might freak out, but she was like, I love this feeling. It's like K really works for me in my mind. And we just have this conversation that for me, it's a space. It's not a state. It's a place. So you arrive at this very familiar, highly alien place where everything makes sense. Everything's interconnected. Everything makes sense. Everything's very goofy, and everything's and it's non-emotional in general, which I really appreciate that. I think there's something much more fascinating about being in a non-emotional, hyper-connected state like that, or space like that. I don't know what it does. It just frees my mind, and it feels like, okay, now I can think like how I normally think, which is cartoon logic, and everything makes sense. And, and then I start stretching and, working out and analyzing my body and saying like, oh yeah, this part like hurts and I need to work on this or whatever. It's like you get this very totalitarian, if that's a good word, kind of relationship to your body and your mind. And for me, it works that way. It's like, obviously, things affect people differently, but I've introduced a lot of people to ketamine, and generally the results have always been positive. And I just find it to be a very, very intriguing, fascinating experience. And I've stopped really doing mushrooms, and not that I'm like, I don't do mushrooms, but I just haven't looked for mushrooms or LSD, because ketamine is so much more interesting to me. Also more efficient. Like, you're done in an hour and a half.
Yep.
Oh, that sounds real nice.
Yeah. It's just like boom, and then it rolls off. And I've had a K session with friends, or with a friend, and we do the session, and like hour and 20 minutes later, I'm like, okay, now we have to go to this car thing for Audi or something like that. I'm like, okay, I'll just jump in my car and we drive to it. Nice. It totally felt fine. And so there's something about that that's really cool.
Yeah, the thing that I really found was that it felt sort of cosmic in a way that, like, psychedelics that I love about psychedelics, like that interconnectedness and organic, but it did feel hyper alien to me, and my whole body disappeared.
Yeah.
And I was just pure consciousness. And that was the first experience that I'd ever had not having a body. And when I came back to my body, I felt safe in my body. And that was new too. And I was like, whoa.
Wow. Yeah,
right now.
sensory deprivation tank without the tank.
Oh, yeah.
That's another way I describe ketamine.
Yeah.
For sure.
That sounds beautiful.
Insane. Also, I mean, I've experienced simultaneous realities overlaid on top of each other, like, and aware of both realities simultaneously, like real things, people having conversations outside of me whilst having like a crazy hallucinogenic experience inwardly, and being able to track both, but not switching between them, experiencing them simultaneously.
Like a piece of paper folding
Yes.
together?
Yes.
No kidding.
Yeah. Like that's happened on multiple occasions where you get into this like super brain territory where now I'm like hearing things that are very far away and hearing them very clearly. And I'm like hearing a conversation that's over here, but I'm also having a conversation or some experiential conversation with someone in front of me at the same time. And that stuff is so intriguing to me. I wonder what is happening when that's happening, because it's not imaginary. Because I've told people back what I heard them talking about, and they're like, "How did you even know we were talking about that?" And I knew all the details.
Do you think something like that is versions of you kind of flirting between realities, or do you think that like you're using 12% of your brain in that moment? Like, can you chalk it up to some kind of conclusion?
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, that's why I would love to, like, if you could wear an EEG or do an fMRI, somehow be able to do some kind of experiments about that, because it's either heightened awareness and just like faster processing, like you can process more data that's always around us, but we have to kind of be selective about that, or it's doing something, it's temporarily amplifying all of our abilities in some way that it starts to cross over the way that we normally experience reality.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you're making me wonder if that's part of you being very good at doing it, because I feel like they're the people who aren't good at doing it, and they have that experience, and then they come back and they're fractured in some way.
Yes, sure. There are people that can be traumatized by that. They're like, "Oh, I never want to do that again," or whatever. I get it, and I never would want to, push people, but it's like, I think that there are certain people that I can tell. I just know, like,
they're going to be good at it.
They're just going to be good at it because I can tell by the way that they think, the way that as long as they don't have a lot of fear. You can have a little bit of fear, but if someone's very, very fearful, they're not a good candidate unless they have to make the decision on their own, and they have to start very lightly and to work into it. But fear is like the worst enemy. The good thing about ketamine is when it does hit and it's the right dose, it can remove a lot of that fear. And so my friend that I actually was with last night, she was notorious for having what I call thought loops. And I always feel like, am I gaslighting her? Because I'm not. I'm not. It's just an observation. But every time because she would bring it up, she'd be like, yeah, when you say that I have those thought loops, I'm like, oh, did I? I'm just like, yeah, those thought loops, huh? About those thought loops. Hey, I'm like appearing under a sink. Oh, but the thought loop, you're not able to get the thing done. But there is like this, she was just very hesitant when she would make decisions. It's like an inchworm, arriving at a decision that she already knew the answer to, but I would see her like start, stop, that type of thing. And I saw firsthand the first time she did ketamine with me, she was finally like, okay, I'm ready to do this. Let's give it a try. Gave her a good dose and sat on the couch, and I saw in real time her being like, well, I'm not sure. I guess what I'm feeling is, I don't know. It's interesting. The way I'm feeling right now is just, it feels like I'm able to relax a little bit, and, I'm having a really good time. And, oh, do you need some water? Like, hey, do you mind getting me some water? I'm like, oh, and then I waited a long time, and then I commented on it. And I said, you're not doing those start stops right now. And she's like, oh my God, I'm not. And that was very cool to see that. Because it's really an awareness. I think like anything ketamine gives you an awareness. It's an awareness tool. Now, all these drugs are awareness tools. Meditation is an awareness tool. Skydiving is an awareness tool. But like everything in life is an opportunity for gaining awareness. But I think ketamine is great because it does remove us from that emotional lizard brain.
Oh, yeah.
part of it. And not to say that you might not feel anxiety, because if you're going into a K-hole, especially, there might be a lot of anxiety because you're like, I'm going to die. I'm losing my consciousness. My consciousness is going to go. Oh, okay. Whoa. What is this? You know, that type of a thing. And then you're in this zone, you know, which happens with all kinds of DMT, you know, you name it. There are different versions of that in psychedelics, heroic doses leading to ego death and so forth. But K has got like this kind of, sometimes can feel really dark and gray. Like there's just this gray wall eating away at the frontiers of your consciousness, you know.
That sounds important in a weird way. If you're gonna grow,
yes.
If you're gonna shake off the whatever you're carrying it around, you know? Yeah.
I very specifically had a moment where I was looking at something that just bothers me all the time in my life that happened to me truly 20 years ago. And I was in that sort of weird cosmic alien state. And something in me just said, you don't have to look at it. And I just looked in a different direction. And so the thing was still playing on loop. It's always going to play. That's just a thing that happened to me that is on a loop in my brain. But all of a sudden I wasn't looking at it anymore. And I was looking at a whole new landscape. And just massive. I'd never been able to do that with like 15 years of talk therapy.
It's amazing. And my therapist, my doctor who prescribes me, they would brag between each other. I was at this psychedelic conference, the MAPS conference last one, and her and my doctor and a couple other of her friends were like bragging to one another about how like I cured my client's fear of blah 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 in 2 sessions with ketamine, and I'm like, oh yeah, well I cured my whatever, my drug resistant depression, you know, client of like 4 years who'd been doing this, and you know, in 1 session or something like that. And you know, in a good way, not in a like we're doctors and we're like gods and type of thing, but just like in their true fascination with the experiences that they have treating their I guess clients, their patients. And so you know, there's something there. There's something where it just kind of, I think it's how I am in general, like in improvisation. Like I don't believe that there's a rapid solution to most problems. Like anytime people are like, it's complicated, we're not going to be able to figure it out, I just don't believe anybody. Like,
wow.
They're like, it's complicated, and because if it is that complicated, well then let's not fucking do it. Because I'm not going to I'm not going to waste a bunch of time, you know, hanging out with a bunch of people that are going to be pessimistic about a solution. And so I'd rather just not do it and do something else. And so I think K has that immediacy that I enjoy, which is like, it's impossible. You can't do that. And it's like, but I'm holding it. It's right here. Like, what does everybody do? But we identify through process and difficulty. And it's like, yeah, well, I don't like, it's a waste of time, but I mean, no judgment, but
you don't have time for it.
You don't have time for it. Would you like to know how I did it? Oh no, you want to dwell in the, I don't know, huh? You're going to want to dwell, I don't know. Stupid. But that's kind of the interesting thing when you're talking about like seeing a problem, you know, the loop. It's like, do you remember the movie Labyrinth?
Oh, I loved it so much.
One of my favorite scenes was that crazy drill that was coming down the tunnel, and when they like stepped into the whatever, like the cutout in the wall or whatever in the tunnel, and then it passes by them and it's just a bunch of fucking Muppets like all working cranks and stuff going, what I am, hey, that's not good enough, you got to go faster or whatever. And I was like, that's what problems are like in K. It's like you see the drill, and in your whole life is you're oppressed by this drill coming down this shaft, and that's what terrifies you, and it's the thing that you don't go near, or it's the thing that gets triggered when something happens, or it's the thing that I have to learn how to live with this and all that stuff. And oftentimes in K, at least in my experience, it's suddenly you get a different angle on that thing, and you're like, oh, that's all it is. It's not that at all. In fact, everything is multiple things simultaneously. And if I can remember that about my problems, then I know that it is possible to shift into a different perspective that dismantles the problem or releases the loop into a spiral.
Having not done it yet, but being vastly interested in it, and also having seen how helpful it's been to you, Mary Jane, that must be the non-emotional part that's so important and helpful.
Yes.
Because then you're able to like see a problem and come at it from a get out of the way of it kind of a thing, instead of holding it with some kind of emotional reverence. Yeah,
agreed 100%. Because I've had incredibly beautiful moments on mushrooms. I've had incredibly beautiful moments You're talking about Michael McQuilkin. I just remember like going out in the park with some of my friends and like picking mushrooms and eating them right out of the ground and like having incredible trips and amazing. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. LSD, I've had some insane, heavy trips, like cool insight. But it's like, it's like those are kind of like vacations, that span the globe.
That's
And you're like, whoa, this is cool. Oh, wow. Yeah. Great. It's a longer time frame and a topography that you're kind of having an adventure on. And ketamine is kind of like being Q in Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah.
It's like everything is quantum now.
Yeah.
So whatever idea or experience you want to experience, it just instantly appears, and it may only last for a microsecond, and then it turns and it warps. It's like it's all fractals. It's a fractal existence. And so that's when generally like my mother's death or something like that, and I'm thinking about it and I'm on like I'm really high. I might get anxiety on the high, going like, oh, I shouldn't be. Am I doing a disservice to my mother by like being high and like thinking about her or whatever? And then that quickly gets eaten away, and it just says, this is the reality you're experiencing right now. Like there's no room for your judgment about it. And that is an incredibly powerful tool.
Yeah.
That
like true disassociation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
I'm
interesting
sorry to
to
interrupt.
hear you say that.
I'm blown away by it.
No. Yeah, no. I'm glad. Please interrupt. Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting to hear you say that about thinking about your mom and about the sort of nature of grief and how that was one of the things that I felt a connection with ketamine. My sister died 2 years ago, and it was such a it helped me let go of the weird shame that I had around like having missed doing anything or being better or being there in a way that my failures or whatever it was. Like it's been such a big processing tool for that too. Yeah.
Man, it's just crazy what we associate ourselves to. And oftentimes there are things about ourselves that we're connecting to an outside problem. Like if my mom passed away and I'm like, oh, I could have been there earlier. I could have done this. And if I would have known, and if I would have listened, and instead now I had to do that gig, and why'd you do, and they would, I know personally, my mom would be like, no, you need to do what you need to do. Was I lonely at times? Yes. Did I miss your father? Yes. Did I wish you were home? Always. But at the same time, I know you're outliving life. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted you to come into this life, is to know that you're doing good out there, And so it kind of puts that in balance, not as a salve or like a rationalization to make you feel good, but just an actual, I'm feeling what this feels like when I let go for real, not like a temporary thing. And I think that in that case state, I've kind of finished the curing of, like an art project, like in many cases, because I'm like, oh, all of my fears about this, they're only fears, and fear is an energy. And fear can go away, and then it's gone. And you're like, oh, that's what it feels like to not have fear about this. Interesting. And you feeling that, I swear, it's like definitely telling your brain, it's like, now you know that possibility. So when you come out of it, you're like, that possibility, and it might start to take hold. I'm not saying that it will absolutely, but for me, it definitely did. And I have a much a highly reduced version of some of the anxieties that I have, because I can kind of go back into that space a little bit.
I wonder if you would have been able to write this book now, or that you've gone through that whole process. Like, was this a part of that process for you to let go, or were you like, I'm through this and now I feel like I'd like to put this down on paper and let it live forever?
No, I think the book was more like, it was really an excuse to have the chance to maybe make a series or a film about my coming of age years.
Cool.
And the coming of age years, I wanted to have other people experience what it felt like for me to be in that time period, in that place. And so that was the impetus. Then doing it, in doing it, the whole process of doing it was definitely a mix of I was taking care of my mom, and so I was, going back every month to hang with my mom, and sometimes I'd have Zoom sessions with my ghostwriter from afar. One time the ghostwriter's father speaks French; he's half Lebanese, and so his father called and spoke French, and like had a conversation with my mom to get more information about her story for the book. So there was like the book was kind of like a processing thing along the way, and that's even me talking to other friends, and to talking to my friends in Montana and like corroborating stories and going, hey, do you remember that thing? And do you remember the thing? It's like, yeah. Oh no, it wasn't a blue car, it was a red car. Oh my God, yeah, that was Wandy's Fiesta. Oh shit, yeah, and I've got a picture. And it's like, oh yeah, there's that picture. Yeah, there's that thing I was talking about. So there was a lot of that remembering, and I wanted to capture that. And weirdly enough, like Robitussin was a huge part of it. It was a dissociative, and we had insane adventures on it, and insane dark experiences, light experiences. But it really pulled us together, and not as like, drugs aren't everything. It's like I try to tell people, like, and I get kind of want to release this justification or this clarification every time, because hopefully people just trust that why I'm talking about drugs it's not an escapism. It's a tool for understanding. It's to have a space within yourself or within a community that is a place reserved for yourselves. And obviously, again, with the qualifications or the equivocation, I should say, like you do through meditation and do yoga and like go swimming every day. Totally true. However, for us, we were in wheat fields. Yeah. And there was alcohol, which I wasn't really that into. And my friends, they drank, but no one was really a heavy drinker that I remember. Everyone loved weed. Everyone loved Robo. We were huffing Freon at one time, which is basically the same as nitrous, so heavier than air gas. So, we had those things. We had weed, and then once in a while we'd get acid that would come through there. But drugs were the things that we looked forward to, psychedelics that gave us a sense of adventure to be in a space of our own, in our own culture. And so I think that happens in multiple cultures, around tribal cultures all around the planet for hundreds of thousands of years that we've been around on the planet. So for me, I felt lucky that I had a modern, whatever, like over-the-counter pharmaceutical version of like our tribal experience. But talk to any of my friends today, and they're incredible human beings. Like they're incredible. And they're all like rough hand working class contractors and carpenters and engravers and bicycle repair technicians teaching kids. Like they're just very like, I'm salt of the earth, I'm doing my stuff. And you talk to them and they're just like so incredibly enlightened. And it's so I don't know, something really exciting about all of that, revisiting that and having that churn back up while I was doing the book was insane.
Yeah. And in the book, you include so many photos, and we get to see pictures of you and your friends and your family, and it's so awesome. And also to read about like how that particular time, when I was saying like so much of what you experienced was what I recognized growing up as a latchkey kid in Newfoundland, around the punk scene. When I would come home and my babysitters were Three's Company and Carol Burnett, and then I would go down to the games arcade and my friends were listening, and you talk about Fugazi and like Minor Threat and all of that, and I was like, that was in Newfoundland, this sort of like weird, far-flung, remote Atlantic rock, windswept rock at the same time was happening with the same elements, a similar sort of forging. And I just thought that was so, like, we're totally different, and there was nothing shared about our experiences, and yet so much of it I recognized. And I was like, and those musicians and artists in Newfoundland who stayed in Newfoundland are just like the most incredible people. And that survivor mentality.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's totally what it is. I swear that is kind of what it is, because you're like, I don't know, none of our friends, this is the insane thing, maybe I say it in the book, but we should have died. Like there were several occasions where we should have died.
There's that story in the book. I won't ruin the ending, but you're driving and robo tripping. And those popular girls cruised by.
Oh yes, yeah.
Man,
yeah.
I didn't know how that story was going to end.
Yeah. I know it sounded all bad. It was all bad, but everything weirdly. I mean, we got really lucky, but just things worked out for us, and that's why I would never recommend anybody do what we did. We were a product of the time, but we should have died, but we didn't. We all survived, and we all kept in touch with each other, and we always have those memories, and it's just insane to me. Yeah. crazy times.
You made it out, and then you ended up in Seattle, and that's where your music career, like you went from like full force into jazz, and you went to. I didn't know you went to Cornish.
Yeah, I went to Cornish.
Amazing. And
you
then,
didn't know that?
I didn't know that. The first
okay.
time I ever saw you perform, you were with Mock Tube at some underground warehouse party in the Soto district at like 2 a.m.
Oh,
and it was right before you moved to New York. It was probably like 2002.
Oh, okay, crazy.
2001 or 2002.
Right. That might have been the Monkey Loft.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe so.
Yeah, I think so. Moved to Seattle because, I was going to go to New York. I don't think I was ultimately into going to New York, even though I loved New York, the idea of New York and Seattle, just had this cool music scene that was going on. And I was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to go to Seattle.
Well, and we do get that story about you going to New York to audition for, was it AMDA?
AMDA, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
What a different world we would live in if you had gone to AMDA.
Oh my God. I'm glad I didn't, because Seattle was like, again, it's another survivor mentality place, especially when I went there, when I first got there. There's a lot of depression in Seattle. People deal with depression there. It's very similar to, sister city is Bristol, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So very similar. And that's why, Bristol, why you get such incredible music out of Bristol. You got like Portishead and Tricky and...
is Bristol not an American
in the
city?
UK?
It's
on
UK.
the South
UK.
Coast.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah. So like Massive Attack came from that area.
Oh, Portishead and Massive Attack. All right. I'm with it.
Yeah.
Now. Great.
It's like back with the Massive.
Yeah. Bro, you massive.
Geolocated
Tricky.
Massive.
Yeah.
Now you're Massive. Boom. Done. It's a tricky situation. So, but there is this kind of like depressive survivor mentality that's in Seattle, especially when I got there, because it was so much smaller feeling at the time. It was just a simpler city when I moved there. And all the people that I met who were from there were just like, they just went about their daily life. I don't know, it was just a very kind of like the Seattle. That was kind of it, and there's so much incredible beauty in Seattle. And I think that the indoor culture created a certain ability for artists to go very inward and create things that people hadn't heard before. Because similar to drugs, it's like music is a place you can create spaces and feelings with just a chord or a band playing together. The empowering feeling of playing with other musicians and like it all coming together and it sounding great is like teleportation to the next level. If I only had one drug left to do, it's like, that's it. Music, music is the one. But getting into music there was, a natural thing for me. And I wanted to be a part of the culture of, the people in my school at the time at the Art Institute of Seattle when I first went to school there, and had my first band and started playing out, my second band, and started playing out. And then making the decision to go to Cornish because I wanted to develop my ear for improvisation, and then meeting insane musicians that are top of their field. And Bill Frisell, who I was a huge fan of, he's an incredible virtuosic avant-garde progressive jazz player. I guess I'm trying to think of the most famous. Well, like Pat Metheny, if you've ever heard of Pat Metheny. So Pat Metheny, but Metheny was like kind of global scale world music, avant-garde jazz, whereas Frisell was like a little darker and more underground. Kind of like he's always had what's his name from Robert Smith. He's kind of like got like
From
a
The
Robert
Cure?
Smith vibe to him. So he's like a Robert Smith of guitar playing, kind of.
Okay.
Anyways, saw him in the airport the other day, and I told him I had a book, and I gave him my copy of the book, and I have a picture with him. I haven't posted it yet, but like it was like this full circle thing. But so when I went to Cornish, Bill Frisell would play, and you're like, holy shit, Bill Frisell plays with Joey Barron, Brigand Krause, which was he was like the legend, saxophone legend at the school at that time, would go to New York and play at the Knitting Factory in its original location with Bill Frisell Trio and
Wow.
or Mark Rebo. These like heavy musicians, like McLaughlin level, Shakti, whatever, the highest versions of music you've heard, fusion from the 70s. Oh, it's 420. from the 70s and 80s, like these were next level generations of this music. And so being involved in that, the enlightenment factor of music and knowing that, I can hang with these people. I can, because I remember and I think it might be in the book, but when Jeff Harper, a double bass player who went to Cornish, there was like a truly illegal, I guess, speakeasy in Seattle, and old bus depot. Only lasted for about 4 or 5 months. It was created by this guy Justin Desmangles, and he was like a jazz savant, knew everything about jazz. His father was a jazz musician, and he was a DJ. So he would DJ in the back, this dark area, because they had to rig in the electrical, because they had to like activate the electrical,
like run a cord out the window.
Yeah, exactly, that type of thing. So all the electrical for the whole place was just like rigged, and and there was actually a sliding thing for the door. So when you knocked on it, like someone, and then you'd have to say the password or whatever, and they'd be like, "All right, man," you come in, and there's like people coloring like with huge pieces of butcher paper over all the tables, where it's kind of like a little cafe area. And then in the corner, there was the musicians would set up and they would play music, and so I'd sit in on all these jam sessions. And I remember Avon Kang saying, like, "Do you want to play my violin?" And Avon now, I think, is like the head of some department in one of the music schools here in California, USC or Caltech. It might be Caltech. But he's like a badass. He was always a badass, but he's a violist and violinist, and also plays erhu, and he's this amazing, brilliant, genius composer. And he was a legend in the school. And I remember him going like, "Hey, do you want to play my I think it was my violin." He had a violin at the time. So, "You want to play violin?" So sure. I played a little bit of violin, nothing crazy at all, but I was just jamming or whatever. And I think Jeff was just watching me the whole time from his perch. He was classic, like 6'4", and also plays double bass. It's like, you are your instrument. But he just looked at me and he goes, "You're one of those." And I knew that I was in. Like that's all it took. I was like, "Oh shit.
Yeah.
These guys, they accepted me," and my friend Tim Young, who I hired to be on the Late Late Show band. Tim was like one of those gods from my school that I was completely in awe of, because he could do anything with a guitar. There's nothing that this guy did not understand. And we had, at that time that I went to Cornish, that was the class ahead of me. That was all those guys. So you had like, I'm trying to think. Jay Clayton was a teacher there, and she's like a genius vocalist that I got to train under. Beth Winters, who was another like badass, kind of more traditional jazz singer, had great vocal techniques, stuff like that to teach us. That was great. But I was just surrounded by such great musicianship, like of my fellow students and of the faculty, that like supercharged my existence in Seattle.
So amazing. And you did so much as a musician in Seattle. And like you were there for like 12 years?
12 years.
Yeah. Yeah. We have got the
Top
cover.
dog.
Top dog.
Seattle Weekly. You were on the cover
Reggie
of
Watts,
Seattle
top
Weekly.
dog.
Amazing. I mean, you dominated the city with your music. Dominated the city. That sounds like
dominated.
aggressive.
It is mine.
Yeah, you won the city, man.
Yeah.
Very aggressive.
All your Seattle is mine. Bainbridge, I'm coming for you next.
Vashon.
Watch out, Orcus. Well, you too could be. Would be. Yeah, it was like, I think what ended up happening, and why myself and a bunch of musicians kind of infiltrated the scene there, is because the grunge bubble imploded.
Yeah.
That it was huge. It like was insane. And then Kurt shot himself in the head, and that fucking ended it.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Groups still continued on and were insanely amazing and incredibly powerful and very popular, of course. But the fervor and the excitement for who's next out of Seattle, none of the labels and all of their satellite setups, because they just instantly made offices inside of the city, they couldn't find anybody else. There just wasn't, and because they oversaturated, so it got like way oversaturated by all these people, like gold rush vibes.
Sure.
And then it got oversaturated. There wasn't enough room. The legacy bands were already kicking ass, but there was no room. And then the labels weren't getting the yields that they wanted, so they pulled out. And then they just kind of left Seattle empty. in many ways. And so, and when that happened, we took advantage of the vacuum and we replaced it with improvisational music, but not in like the jam band way, but in a more of a kind of a structured improvisational setting, and also performance art and sketch comedy. And so there was a lot of room to fill the city back up with some stuff. And so that's what we did.
Wow. Did you find a crossover between the people who were into grunge and the people who would come check you out, or did you build a whole new audience of people who wanted to come see something completely different?
I think like most of the music stuff that I did was mostly like jam bandy kind of oriented mindset.
Yeah.
They come to all the nights. And I mean, and there was definitely like, it tied into the Black community, hip hop community. We worked a lot with Jasiri, which was a label at the time that had a lot of hip hop artists on them. And there were some local legends, and they were connected to other local legends like Dan the Automator and people like that. And so there was some cool stuff that would pervade through there. Or Erykah Badu would come through, and like some of her musicians would jam with us at night, you know. So there was a little bit of a Philadelphia vibe scene that was happening in Philadelphia mid-90s with the neo soul movement, like with Erykah Badu. Well, she wasn't from Philly, but she was from Dallas. But like who am I thinking of? Jill Scott, The Roots. There's a ton of people I'm going to forget, but there was like this scene that was there, and then you had like trip hop and these associated Black music forms that were informed by the pervasiveness of electronic music, and then a new round of music labels hoping that they strike gold with something called electronica. So there was a lot of money still, and people were experimenting, but you were getting these kind of grassroots, more like just great musicianship, soulful hip hop, laid back grooves. And so some of our nights, a lot of our nights were that. It was just, that was the feel. So we had a crossover. It was kind of like I think at its height, you had a good crossover from the hip hop community, the jam band community. Everybody was there. Breakers were there. Contemporary dancers were there. Because I was friends with the contemporary dance scene at the time. So my whole goal was to bring as many badass people together on functions, and that's why I still like value being. I have to like a hardcore band. It's a huge honor for me to have a hardcore band appreciate me. Like if they're like, I love what you do, man. That was fucking sick. If I hear that from them, I'm like, oh, okay, good. Because those are the hardest people, because their bullshit detectors are really, really sensitive.
Yeah. Like if Slipknot was like, yo, that was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Well, even better if Meshuggah.
Oh, there it is.
It's just like, yes, we like your grooves, whatever. I'd just be like, oh, what? But because I think I just want to have access to the widest range of human beings possible.
Yeah. That's interesting because you started, it sounds like, creating your own audience and being in the fringes of Seattle music, but with the most talented people of that area. And then in New York, finding Kroll and that Bobby Tisdale show that you write about in the book, and how all of those fringe, crazy, talented people, and then all of you went mainstream also in some way, which is fucking crazy, because that's not how we're told it goes,
No, it's not. It's like, I don't know how I did it, but I happened to be at the right place, right time for so many things. And I think, and because I got there when it was small, and then it expanded. So if you're there when it's small, when it's tiny, it's a very sincere place. It's special, and you're addicted to the community, and you're there for all the events, as there's not that many. Yeah. And so you're there for each other, and you're getting to know each other, and they're starting to get excited by this person that they saw on stage. They got excited by this person that's on stage. And then, David Cross came through and did a set and did 10 minutes on this. It was insane. Did you see that? Oh my God. Oh great. Yeah. Sarah Silverman came through. Like, what? Sarah Silverman was there? Yeah. She didn't go up, but she was hanging out in the audience. Oh my God. Do you think she saw me? Like those like little tiny clubhouse experiences. Yeah. And then watching it just bloom and blossom, and then the same thing when the industry's coming in and going, we'll give you money for viral videos. Can you make some viral videos for us? Like, we'll try, TBS.
Sure.
I remember like those days of the Story Pirates, which is like an amazing collective, and you were playing with them, and I would come and see you guys, and our friend Chris Ferry was one of the story pirates.
Right. And Kristen Shaw.
I was going to say
Oh,
Kristen Shaw. And I'm like, of course, now it's so amazing to think back to that time and to the fact that like, I was in Edinburgh in 2006 doing a show and you were, Sparkle or Still. And like that particular summer of 2006 in Edinburgh was, I think about so much because it was such a cool time to just fully be an actor at that incredible festival with some of my favorite people like Ferry Christmister.
Totally. Of
Chris
course.
Ferry, who's so
of course.
fantastic. And then you were there and I could come see your show for free and I had no money.
Yeah.
So I just came to see your show all the time. I was there, however you were doing it 28 nights in a row or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, like Michael McQuickham was like, do you want to make a dumb video about blowjobs? And we were like, sure. Like, let's climb Arthur's seat and do some Molly and then make a video about blowjobs, whatever it was. It's just like a very fun sort of like, that before it got big time.
Yeah.
Is my memory of that, watching all of you and being a part of it in a way.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, that's the feeling that has to be there. It has to be kind of this community. Like we've got this extra time. So let's just fucking do shit.
Yeah. For real.
Oh, got an idea. Yeah. Come over. Can you do it tonight? Yeah. I'll come over in a couple hours, and that immediacy of like, and the willingness to create with one another. Whereas now it's much harder, with those friends that I came up with, that we were just talking about, or like Kumail Nanjiani or whatever. It's like, I can definitely get them for something, probably, depending on what it is.
Right.
I could, but it's going to take time, and they've got families, they've got whatever, and they've got these crazy schedules. So generally I tend to I hang out with most like younger artists because we can still do that.
Just make stuff.
Just make stuff. And so I end up hanging out with them because also they're the next generation. So it's like nice to hang with them and like get their vibes and where they're coming from and what are the challenges that they have in their lives. And I think it's intergenerational community friendship is like very, very important, especially in comedy and so forth. So people need to know that there's people that are ahead of them, or at least, in exposure experience, that are looking out for them and care for them.
Yep.
Yo, that makes me want to talk about technology a bit because like as a comedian who is constantly being told, you got to do more reels, you got to put things out there, you got to make things with friends. But then I ask friends to make things and they're like, yeah, but if it's not perfect, we can't put it out because there can be up to 8.7 billion eyeballs on your thing or whatever we're at population wise. But at the same time, we're in this incredible time where you can make anything and robots can even help you make them. And so like how would you as a 20-year-old approach right now? Would you just make shit and put it out, or how would it go?
I mean, I think that's what would be the game plan. It's like just make that doesn't change, it just means that you have more options, which sometimes can be good, sometimes not so good too. but I think that would be the game plan, is like just make as much stuff as you can, post as much stuff as you can, but don't get caught up in the perfection of it, or the strategy of how and where. Like, unless you have a natural savvy, like some people they hook into, I know how to leverage this, and they just know that, and that's running in the background. It has nothing to do with their creative process, and that's a really lucky ability to have that. Or they're people who are innovating before people think of other things that they're about to do, but it just came to them naturally. That's one thing, but I think sometimes people can get overly concerned about, is this the right time to post it? Is this how will this boost my algorithm? Blah, blah, blah. That kind of thing. Like that stuff sucks. Like, you don't need that shit. Just like the most important thing is to make what you want to make and release it, and don't worry about it being too perfect, because I was trying to remind people, you have hundreds more things to do. You're going to be making so many more pieces of art, and this is just one along the way. And so just get it out and continue forward. Just keep moving on. But you'll amass a track record of what you think is funny and what's dumb and what's whatever. And that's where it's fun. It's like people like to experience people having fun.
Yes, so much.
Fuck
Mike
yes.
has a viral reel, I don't know, 5 million views or something, where you're just enjoying a rock in Alaska.
Oh, it's a perfect rock,
like,
Reggie.
What a great rock.
It's an incredible rock. Perfectly smooth, circular, nice to the touch.
Yeah.
very
It was
sweet.
on an Alaskan beach. And it
Right,
just
right weight, right size.
Such nice heft.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just
Yeah.
with the Alaskan sun, you know.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nice.
I mean, that
People
is
are like-
absolutely proof. That is 100% proof. I mean, that translates from the screen, from your description of it and like how it looks and your angle on it, like, and your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're triggered by that. We enjoy simplicity. There's something comforting and something simple when you see people being stupid and having a good time together. You recognize that that's something that makes you feel good. And I think like if you plan stuff a little bit too much, it can come off as it's good, but it's kind of clever. It's
a little disingenuous, right?
a little, yeah, a little.
And authenticity translates always.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no substitute for sincerity.
But you're excited about robots?
You're one of the only people that makes me not terrified about AI. True, straight up. You are the only one I think that I can listen to talk about AI and not feel like the cold coil of fear in my belly.
Yeah.
And I just think about how crazy it all looks and seems.
Yeah.
That it can help us, that it's good for us, that we're all going to be okay, that we can use AI to curate our lives in a helpful way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, I tend to be positive I've always had a pretty positive relationship with technology. So this is another technology. So that continues that trend. And also I don't believe people when they're fearful.
Yeah.
I tend to. So I'm a little antithetical that way. I'm not like I think I'm relatively rational about it. I'm not just being anti to be anti. That's definitely the first thing, but I'm just, someone's like, yeah, but it could totally ruin, and just, you know, the AGI could ruin our lives. And I'm like, either way, whether it's an amazing tool or whether it fucks up everything, those are both good.
That's fucking interesting.
Those are both good outcomes.
Right. We ain't in a great spot right now.
No, like where else are we going? Are we going to add more of this, whatever this is going on right now? We can do more of that and just keep going in that direction. Like, cause I don't see people getting happier necessarily. I don't see it. So something has to change.
Yeah. It does feel like we're treading, but we're getting tired of treading water a bit.
Totally. You ever see it? Definitely.
We're starting to drown.
What a beautiful. But that's another thing. Like you know, going back to ketamine, those are types of realizations where you're like, oh, it doesn't really ultimately matter, because it's like something will resolve. Things do change, and we absorb those changes and we resolve them, and because that's what human beings are best at, or I should say the natural state of human beings are problem solvers. Like we love solving problems, and we love collaboratively solving problems when we're rationally based. We can do so much, and we can reprioritize our dislikes for people very, very quickly in order to solve a problem collectively. And I think AI is a tool that can help. Here's the thing that I think, it's like you have all these assholes with all the power, and they're bona fide dicks. Like they don't give a fuck about people. They're addicted to more power. And it's because they hijacked the whole capitalistic mechanism. It's all hijacked. So that's not changing, because that's what they want. However, if we have access to super brain versions of ourselves that we personally train as naturalistically as hanging out with a friend and getting to know them, and we're able to solve our own problems. We start solving some of the problems that we normally would want a system to arrive at, or to solve. Then you're looking at power being taken away from these individuals when it comes to energy, housing, food.
Yeah. AI
can help solve that community to community, specifically for each community and each individual. So there's a possible future of what I like to call collective individualism. And it'll be decentralized, but there'll still be large systems to organize whatever is necessary for a while, but it'll be offloaded quite a bit. And that will create some form of satisfaction, which will reduce anxiety a little bit, and people may come to a more rational mind state and realize that they can put their energy into other things that are more self-evolving and beneficial for the community around them.
Yeah.
Would you truly see that, like, cities kind of dissolving into more tribal groups again of people who are all on
Communal
the same page?
living?
Yeah, communal
That
living.
kind of thing.
I think it's possible.
That could be interesting.
I think it's possible. I mean, United States, or at least United States, maybe even Canada, there's definitely, well, especially the United States, there's this we're kind of like selfish. We want all the stuff for ourselves. Like, I want
Plenty
as much of
selfish
this thing.
Canadians too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I want all the stuff, and I need all the stuff, and I
Yeah.
want all the stuff. I deserve all the stuff. I work so I can have all the stuff.
Get out of my way so I can have
Yeah,
that stuff.
I want to have my stuff. I need my stuff at all costs. And so there is that, but there is this joy when people discover, like, when they move to a neighborhood and suddenly they like their neighbors, and the neighborhood is like collectively solving issues or whatever. And it's like, oh, that's a really cool feeling. Like, we all have what we need, so no one's in want of anything. If there is a problem, we can collectively solve it. And you don't lose your, like, if you want space and time by yourself, you can still get the space and time by yourself, but you can also be involved in a community. And so I think having AI solve a lot of the tougher labor equations and getting people off of those, like, dangerous jobs that are just monotonous and really kind of soul sapping, will potentially put people in a state where they can think about, well, what do I want to do? Like, what else can I do? What can I do with my life? I really like needlepoint, or whatever, and get in a needlepoint, or whatever, and or solving problems out in the community, whatever it is. But I think that there's a potential that might occur, because I don't think people like to not be useful. So I think, I don't know, perhaps it might trigger something like that. But we need to get past the virus that is taking hold.
This moment.
Yes.
I've been waiting for the lying flat trend to come. Do you know about lying flat in China?
Planking?
No, it became a protest in China against the Chinese work hours and the grind, and it was where workers were just lying flat in public spaces.
Oh, wow.
Not planking, but like a similar physical position. But it was also like quiet quitting. That whole sort of idea, like, we're just not going to do this anymore. Quietly, passively, non-aggressively. You can't make us anymore. I prefer not to. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I feel it happening here. I'm like, I feel it bubbling up. I feel like all of especially the women that I'm talking to right now in this country are like, we're not going to do this anymore. We're so sorry. This hasn't worked out for us at all. We're going to move to Nashville and buy a farm.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. I mean, ultimately. And, it's important for, I think, when people get freed up of time, I think that's when they start thinking about, oh, well, I think maybe I always wanted to do this. Like, I think I could do that. But imagine, like, if you have an AI assistant that has your intelligence, but times 100,000, and has access instantaneously to all kinds of information, and can present you multiple options in order to solve and create pathways and roadmaps to achieving certain goals. And you're constantly evolving that relationship. I mean, I don't know. It's like, I'm like, well, good luck trying to hold people down through this, because it's not efficient. An AI wouldn't look at our current system and say it's efficient. It's terrible.
Yeah.
An AI would be like, all of the resources are not distributed properly.
It's only benefiting this tiny percentage of the population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the violence is perpetrated by a small amount of people across the planet. And they're all just a bunch of basically like snakes. They're just like a well, snakes are cool, but they're like a bunch of mosquitoes. No,
dang, I love mosquitoes.
Damn it. Okay, well, maybe they're like mitochondria. No, but I mean, it's like they all have similar. They're driven by the same thing, but they would kill each other in an instant.
Yeah,
Just like a pit of vipers or whatever that term is. So it's any AI is going to look at that and be like, "What the hell are you guys doing?"
Yeah, rabid shit weasels. Stop.
You have yes, especially those, the worst.
Hate them.
Rabies and weasel
And poop.
No, yeah, that's gross. That's like the maximum gross. It's not going to end well at all, and it's going to happen over time, which is even more frightening.
And they're just going to get bigger.
And they're going to get bigger. No, it's just like, and it looks at a system like that. And it's like nothing is distributed properly. You're not investing in populations, and that's a huge amount of brain trust. And you're wasting your brain trust on letting all these people barely survive, and they're in a survival mode. And then, like in our cultures, it's like, well, you can buy more stuff, and you can fill up your life with buying a ton of stuff, and that makes up for it. That's why you work, you get to buy a bunch of stuff, and you get to drink some beers and go to some football games.
After 9/11, man.
Yeah.
Bush was like, get out there and start buying stuff, everyone. That's the solution.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I know. And it's true. And how can that be a great, I mean, what's the great solution in that? There's no upward mobility. There's no enlightenment. There's no evolution in that. It's just a temporary.
Back to fear.
Yeah, it's back to fear.
Mm-hmm.
And, and people are afraid of like not having a roof over their head, all this stuff, and people are living without those things. So, but there's no shortage of supplies. We have all the water, we have all the food. It can go to everybody. We could be solving some pretty incredible problems. Unlimited energy is potentially right around the corner with fusion. And as AI becomes more used for projects like that, we may see more rapid escalation of technologies. New hypersonic engines that use a third the fuel.
Bigger magnets.
Yeah, bigger magnets. Yeah, bigger magnets. No dependency on rare earth metals anymore. Now battery chemistries are made of very plentiful materials all over the planet. Yep. There's like so many solutions that AI could figure out because it is not emotionally biased.
Yeah.
That makes me feel so much better.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, because coming at it from a place of our rulers seem to just be moving ahead, and they're like, best of luck to the rest of the world.
And things are getting
feels
worse.
Bad.
Yeah.
But thinking of it as like embracing it and using it, wield your own sword from it.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, I think in the end, everyone just wants to have a good time. And if you can change people's minds by giving them more access to the free spirited aspect of themselves, which is their true self. Once you taste that, that's like a pretty powerful drug. And you know that could happen, and they can repeat it a few times, and suddenly it starts becoming the base reality. Then there's less room and less tolerance for people who are negative and who are fear-based and they're just too lazy to figure their shit out. So they're just going to project on everybody else. People are like, what are you doing? I see exactly what you're doing. Go work on your shit or get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're welcome back anytime, but we're not doing that shit. It's not going to work here.
Yeah.
Wow.
So figure it out.
And get rid of the hesitation loops.
Oh yeah, my God, the hesitation loops. You gotta practice first impulse. Just think of it, do it.
Strong and sometimes wrong, but that's okay. Because
that's okay.
That's equally as good
Failure
as right.
is just as valuable as success.
So important.
We are at exactly 120.
Oh, great.
Let's wrap.
Cool.
Let's wrap it.
This has been such an incredible time. Thank you so much.
Wait, I have one question.
Oh, Jesus,
I'm sorry.
Mike.
I'm sorry. I have to.
Go. Yeah. What?
All right.
It's if I don't have another opportunity.
I just had a false start because of you.
No, it's my bad. I'm high. I'm having a great time. I like talking and connecting. Like it felt good in this episode too. As we kept talking, the veils kept like dropping, and we all got more connected. It was really nice.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Such a good feeling.
100%.
All right, I'll leave it at that. That's a better one.
Oh,
Go
well,
ahead,
okay.
Mary Jane.
Okay. All right.
I was just going to say, can you please tell everyone where they can get your book and what you're doing next, or if you have anything that you want people to look out for? Because I know you've got so much happening.
Yeah, the book can be gotten at I would suggest local bookstores first. You can order them. Some local bookstores will mail them to you too, but it's good to use local bookstores. If not that, you can order it on Amazon, and it's on Audible.
That's what I checked out. It's great.
I did an Audible. I called an Audible. I think that's it. And then wherever books are sold ultimately. But
and are you still on the road promoting it, or do you have shows coming up?
I did my last thing like 3 nights ago at Vroman's. I think that was the last thing. I think I'm going to continue to do some press events along the way, but the tour is over. So we'll see. Hopefully it does well. I don't know. I just want to sell over 300 copies.
Over 300 copies.
Let's get there.
We're on the way.
And then hit the screens with it.
I can't wait.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast. It's just an absolute pleasure to talk to you about everything. And when you have your next installments of the Seattle book, the New York book, or anything else that you have going on, please come back.
Oh, for sure. And I'll be calling you for stories. So
yeah. Also, I actually had a picture. Do you remember this?
Radio play.
Yeah.
The best.
That was a good summer.
That was a
good time.
That was so good. Radio play was
Havilah and
awesome.
Beth and Jen Rondeau.
Yeah, that's right.
Is this where you did 10 minutes for the first time?
I did the Fatal Attraction in 10 minutes piece as a part of this radio play that was all sort of in darkness, as Reggie was the maestro. And then like these amazing actors, Havilah and Beth, would come on and do sketches basically with Joel and Marshall, right?
Yes.
Marshall
that's
McLuhan.
Right. Yes, that's right. Yeah. And it was directed by Tommy.
Kip.
Oh, Kip.
Yeah.
So Tommy was in it though.
Yes, or he worked on the script.
He worked on the scripts. That's what it was. Oh, that's right. It was
Kip Fagan. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Damn. Okay.
It was such a fun.
And the last piece that happened in PS 122.
That's right.
On the main stage. We were the very last production.
We
there.
saw it out. And I remember, I'll never forget, you gave me a dropper full of a weed tincture one night in the East Village, and I rode my bike home through the rain back to that place I had in Chelsea with Scott. And I felt like I was flying.
Oh my
I've
God.
never forgotten that.
Oh, that's
best bike ride of my life, thanks to your weed tincture.
Oh, yes. Weed. Anyways.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.